Today's lesson is about Grecco, and Grecco specialised in teaching people about the Mad Queen. This piece here, the Queen, was the last chess piece to be invented. Somewhere between 1450 and 1500 it became a popular piece, and before that it only had a very limited move. It could move 2 squares diagonally, and it was known as the vizier. But there were some powerful queens around Europe starting to rule territories, like Queen Isabella of Catalan, and the people in her territory said, well, we're playing chess, why don't we have a queen, because we have a powerful queen who leads us. So they invented a new piece. They said, forget the vizier, we'll have a queen instead, and it can move as far as it likes in any straight line. Well, this was a pretty revolutionary idea, and the chess queen took about 50 years to be taken up by all people as being the more exciting way to play chess. So what happened was, people like Grecco went around Europe teaching people the new version of chess, Damma chess or Queen's chess. And what he would do is he'd give a lesson about how to move the queen in the new version of chess, and then he'd play 50 people at once in the town square, and he'd offer them 50 gold pieces if they could beat him, and he'd charge 1 gold piece to play against them. And he never lost, because he was an expert at using the new piece, the queen. And he amassed an absolute fortune. Now, back then there wasn't any banks, so Grecco couldn't take his money and put it in the bank. He had to carry it with him. And he went around Europe and he amassed a massive fortune. And somewhere in France, on his way to England, he got robbed. He lost everything. Well, it didn't matter. He got to England and he amassed a new fortune. So, yeah, he was a pretty good chess player, particularly at using the queen in the opening. So we're going to have a look at the use of the queen in the opening by Grecco back in the 1500s. One of the first recorded games of chess. Grecco also recorded one of the very first games of books about chess, and he taught all about opening traps because he was an expert in that area in Damma chess. So here's some pretty standard moves so far. And Grecco in this game is playing white against somebody in a simultaneous exhibition somewhere in Italy in the 1500s. Now, black plays this move. If your opponent plays this move in a game of chess, it's time to get up and do a bit of a jig. It's an absolute losing move. But back before the queen could move as far as she liked, this was an okay move. But this is a very typical example of how Grecco taught people to use the new exciting queen in chess. So he played knight takes pawn. Now that looks like it loses points because you've only got a pawn, you're about to lose your knight. Well, you do, and back when this was a vizier, you'd be in all sorts of trouble. But with a queen, no. Queen comes out here, check, and also attacking the pawn at the same time. Now, if you block with the pawn, you block the check in the vain hope that you might be able to castle someday. The queen takes the pawn and check again. This is called a fork. The queen's attacking the rook and the king at the same time, and you'll lose points. So, pretty bad. So in the actual game that Grecco was playing here, black decided instead to move the king, the only other choice. White follows up with a devastating check, so there's a check there, and there's no choices there, there's only one way out of that check, the king has to move, and Grecco uses a bishop off the back row, bang, check again, so he develops a back row piece with check. Looking pretty bad for black at this stage, except for the fact that he's up by a knight for 2 pawns, but his position is absolutely terrible. Now, you could block with the pawn, but all that does is lose a pawn. So, in the game, black decided not to bother losing more material and moved his king here. So you see the king is out and about, and it's not a good thing. Here's another nice check for white. Pawn guards the queen. This cannot be played because it will still be checked. King has to move over here, and now discover check. Pawn comes to the centre, but it uncovers the check by the bishop. So it's pretty nasty all round. At the moment, there's actually no square this king can move to where he's not in check. And so, of course, he has to block the check with a pawn. That's his only move. Well, he could use his queen, but end up with checkmate very quickly. So it's looking pretty nasty pretty quickly. Grecco played his pawn to h4 and very close to checkmate. If it's white's move here, he'll play either this double check, well, he'll play this double check. So the king tries to run away, and all white has to do now is move him back to that square. And he does so by playing queen to f7 check. King has to run back to this square and spot the winning move. It's a double check and mate. The pawn takes the pawn. As he does so, the rook gives check and the pawn gives check. Queen guards here and here, and that's it, checkmate. So Grecco wins.